My guest on this week's episode of Suds Search is Andrew Optimisey, SEO consultant and founder at Optimisey, an SEO consultancy located in Cambridge. Andrew is a digital marketing veteran with almost 2 decades of experience. He is a host of a series of popular free meetups. Andrew is also a popular podcast guest, a webinar host, and a must-follow on social media. He appears on many best-of lists, including Search Engine Journal's list of the top SEO experts you should be following. One of my favorite ways to learn SEO or digital marketing generally is to attend local meetups. Meetups are also a great way to make friends and have fun. Andrew has done an amazing job building out a community in Cambridge, and his reputation for hosting top-flight meetups is recognized all over the SEO world. We filmed this episode almost 2 years into the COVID pandemic, and the state of local meetups is in flux. I wanted to chat with Andrew about what the future holds for his meetups and why the format works so well. Andrew also detests spammy or snake oil SEO practitioners. I'm going to chat with him about how pervasive the issue is and what to be on the lookout for. Grab something cold to drink and join me for a conversation with Andrew Optimisey. We'll chat about why he's invested so much time and energy into free SEO meetups. We'll talk about some red flags to avoid before working with an SEO consultant or agency. And I'll spend a little time chatting with him about whether or not Google has a responsibility to identify bad actors. Andrew, welcome to Suds Search. How you doing?
Hey, Mark. I'm good. It's only just gone 3 p.m. here, and I'm starting to drink beer on a Friday. So how bad can it be?
Perfect timing for you. You're like, we've had a couple of people from the UK on, and every time it's great. What are you drinking? You actually you've got the T-shirt. You're really invested in this. I love it.
I'm fully embracing this. So this is this one is called Brewboard. Is the brewery. This is called Gingerman. So which is like ginger and lemon kind of flavored beer. But yeah, Brewboard T-shirt. So you're an American, right? So this is like this one is for a different beer called the Bambino, and this is like this is a kind of stylized photo of Babe Ruth, which he's in your Constitution somewhere, right?
Absolutely, like exactly right. Exactly. I learned about him
you
in
have
first
to know who
grade.
Babe Ruth is, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Totally.
they're literally very local to me, so I can walk to this brewery. It's just up the road. It's great. Brewboard.co.uk.
Awesome.
I should get their plug in there as well. So they're great. I'm not sure if they ship as far as the US, but they probably would.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I am drinking also a local beer from Old Irving Brewing, who back when we used to do these, we filmed in the brewery. I did one episode at their brewery, so it's a very good spot if you're ever in Chicago. It's right off the highway from O'Hare. So, well, listen, this is where I want to start. You host a series of SEO meetups in Cambridge. We're starting to get in-person events back in the United States slowly but surely. We talked off air about Brighton. Kind of give us a sense. What is the status of these meetups that you manage right now?
So for me, my events are completely on hold. So I've kind of paused them all. So this is really weird. I was talking to another event organizer, and we were remembering just that the whole COVID thing was starting, and it was like, should we, is it sensible to meet up in a big air-conditioned room with lots of, I'm not sure. So we're thinking about things we could do to alleviate it. And because all these people come and they all drink beer together and we all kind of share pizzas, and that doesn't seem like a good idea. Everybody putting their hands in the same, we'll get individual lunch things for people, and just to make them, less worried about it. And we'll get some sanitizer and all. And then it just spiraled so quickly from there that it was like, okay, this is not a good idea. Let's cancel this. This is all pre-vaccines and people knowing what masks to wear and all that kind of stuff. So I cancelled it all down. And then since then, it hasn't really come back. I've been tempted a couple of times to come back, and there've been some sort of online things that I've kind of joined in under the same kind of Optimisey brand. But yeah, still on hold, sadly. I miss it.
I know, and I love meetups, so I want to try and when we can get back to normal, I want to encourage people to go back there, and I want to kind of promote just the medium of having meetups. Like you said, it's kind of like exactly what we do on this show. We drink beer and we talk, and we kind of have some education in it as well. And so it's like one of my preferred ways to learn, obviously, and I don't think you need to be persuaded. But tell me why you've invested so much time in meetups. What is the value add that you see in having meetups for SEOs?
So for me, it started from helping friends. So I know friends that run their own businesses. The one I have sort of particularly in mind, she's a jeweler, or her dad is a jeweler, and she was helping him with making jewelry and selling jewelry and stuff, and amazing stuff. And they are. Am I allowed to swear? Is this we're drinking beer? Is that sort of temper my language?
Totally fine. Yeah. Almost encouraged. Yeah.
They are amazing at making jewelry, but they are shit at marketing. And it's certainly pretty bad at SEO. And so then they have all these things that come through the email, which everybody gets, like, hey, I can get to the top of Google for $50. And they don't know, right from wrong and left from right. And so they would ask me, they're like, well, should I do this? Like, this person's telling me they can sell me 50 DA, 50 plus links. I don't even know what that means, but it seems pretty good. Should I go for that? And so you'd start advising them. And I think, well, this is still just like a drop in the ocean. There's still so many people out there that get sucked in by all this kind of stuff. And it's like, right, how can I get more good knowledge in front of the right kind of people? And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, just come and listen to smart people talking about stuff, sharing stuff. And if you take away one or two things, happy days. So that's where it kind of started out from, just, helping get more smart people in front of the right numbers of people that are willing and interested to learn that kind of stuff.
That's great. And I feel like there's like this networking component of it too. Like, the big benefit to me is having a network. I have a friend who has this line where he's like, going to these sort of like SEO meetups is solving a problem for 2 years from now. You don't know what the problem is, and you don't know who in that room is going to help you solve it, but you're kind of already investing because you've got the network in there. So I always like that. I feel like this is really hard to do now. Like, I've missed these things because I'm friendly-ish with a lot of people on Twitter, but isn't nearly the same connection you can make with in person. Can you dwell on that a little bit? Like, how is this, the networking component of these meetups impacted you professionally or just personally?
So for me, that was like kind of almost like a side benefit of the events, which seemed, and then once they started going and like I was speaking to the attendees and stuff, that was almost the bit that they got the most out of. So yes, of course, coming to listen to amazing speakers, and I've had some phenomenal people that come to Leader Solis has come and spoken at the events. Barry Adams has come and spoken at my events, like these tiny little events in my little corner of Cambridge, and big SEO names have come and spoken at my events, and that's a great draw, and it gets people in the room. Of course, it does. But then it's a lot of the people that I speak to, they kind of, I get the most benefit out of when I get to talk to other people over a beer afterwards, or over a pizza, or over a cup of tea, or whatever it is. We're English, we're all supposed to drink tea all the time, right? But that's the bit where they got the most value, because then they'd be an SEO and they'd talk to a developer and they'd be like, oh my God, like developers, they really grind my gears, and my developer does this and this and this, and they never do this and they won't do this. And then the developer will go, you know what, that's really strange. Like, because I have this SEO, my God, they're annoying. They're always coming to me with these stupid little things, and they bug me about that. And I've got the whole server's on fire, and the site's about to fall over, and they're asking me to implement like some random bit of schema, and it's then they can kind of get together. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, maybe we should talk about this, and how could I present it differently? And suddenly conversations start happening, and people start seeing things from different point of views. And like you were saying about your friend saying, those kind of people that you then make a connection with, and then in 6 months' time you have that, I've got that strange question, I don't know how to answer that. That guy I met at that event, or that woman I met at that event, I bet they'd know. I'll drop them a line and see if they can help. It's hugely beneficial.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, good. Well, I want to try and abruptly shift gears to something that's been bothering you. And that is, I don't know, agencies or consultants, basically people who offer shit advice. And I listened to you on a podcast that Morty does. It's like the SEO rant. You had a really good one. So for anyone who hasn't listened to Morty's show, it's sort of like intentionally about getting a rise out of the guest. The rant, they want to get you on a rant.
Morty doesn't even need to try that. He's kind of annoying.
I know he's kind of wired that way. So your rant was like, it was righteous. It was interesting. Yeah, if you could, for our audience, help me define the issue. Like, where are you seeing this? Like, beyond just like getting shit advice, help me just surround it, if you would.
So, SEO doesn't have a great reputation, right? In lots of different people's minds and eyes, and like my friend the jeweler, so she gets 50 emails a month or whatever it is as a business owner from lousy SEOs trying to sell her stuff and trying to get her to buy things, and do you want this guest post, and can I guest post on your website? And it's just like, SEOs are just annoying, spammy, irritating people that do crap on the internet to try and trick Google. And that, then if you're a good SEO, that kind of affects you, and like we're all kind of trying to push the boulder back up this hill with other people raining crap down the other side, pushing it back. So that's for me is that, and I was thinking about this just prior to us kind of coming on to the show, and I guess there is, to be fair, there's two sides to it. I mean, I get that people have got they've got to make a living, and if they're trying to sell things, and if they're selling lousy stuff to try and make a buck, then, sure, I guess, each to their own. And there is that other side to it in terms of even good advice interpreted wrong can be harmful, right? There's people that kind of like, well, I read one blog post, and so therefore this is the thing I'm going to apply to my website. And it's just like, okay, please stop doing that. We've all been there. I mean, the latest one seems to be around content culls. Everybody's like, oh, I read that, like, so-and-so Mars or whatever did a content cull, and they went through and they found all their lousy content that doesn't work. And so then they just sacked it all off and stripped it out of their website, and, traffic went through the roof. Yay. So I'm going to do that to my website. And, I'm going to bin off all the pages that get fewer than 10 visits a month, whatever, and just bin them all. And then my traffic's going to go up 3 times. Oh, no, it didn't. Oh, I've done massive harm to my website, and I didn't really check what I was doing, and I deleted all this content that actually was the one that had 50% of my backlinks pointing to it, and now at 404s, and now my traffic's gone through the floor. That even good advice can be misinterpreted, right? So that's why I kind of ranted at Morty about.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, at the tactical level, I'm interested in some things, because there's a lot of ways you could attack this. There's like people who just straight up give bad advice. So it's like, this is actually not good SEO. There are people who maybe they don't have the skill. They're not very good at writing, for example. So the execution is bad. But one of the things that I think is really malicious that you talk about are like people who will be like, charge money for monitoring analytics, or for helping bounce rate because they put 2 analytics codes on. Really nothing that would help you get even one more customer at all. It seems like there's like this really malicious layer to this too, that's beyond just like, okay, I get it. Not everybody's going to be an awesome SEO. You got to go from beginner, intermediate to advanced, but like that malicious stuff is really, I think, gets under my skin, and certainly it sounded like it did for you too.
Oh, that kind of stuff drives me nuts. And it's like, the agencies that do this stuff, just purely with financial means in their sites. They're not thinking about the client. They're not thinking about doing things better for them. They're just thinking about, how can I get the maximum money out of this client? Horrible things like, when I've worked, you come into a new client and they go, we need some SEO help, and our agency said that we could talk to you and that was okay, and you're really like, that's a red flag immediately. Like, your agency who you pay said it was, like, why are they giving you permission? But okay, let's go with that. We'll go on. Okay, and then you ask for things like, have you got Search Console set up? And they go, oh yeah, we've got Search Console. And if you've got analytics set up, oh yeah, we've got. Can I have access to those things? Oh no, we can't give you access to those things. The agency has all that. And you'll just say, wait a sec. So that your proprietary stuff about and then then the agency, like, for whatever reason, they part way to the agency. And the agency kills it all. They take all the analytics with them. They take Search Console with them. They don't sign it over back to the site owners. And wow, that kind of stuff. And you'll decide I'm not sure if there's like laws that they're breaching, but I'm pretty sure there must be. It's pretty criminal, that kind of thing going on.
Wow. I love that as like a red flag to watch out for. Like, hopefully somebody watches this and we can actually help someone who might hire one of these agencies, or might take one of those 50 spam emails and respond to it. Like, maybe help to explain. I like that idea of the red flag there. Like, what do you think legitimate agencies do during that sales process? And what are some like major red flags that before you hire an agency, you should be really aware of the, 1, 2, or 3 things?
So I'm an SEO. I don't build websites and stuff, but I come across websites where they don't have things set up, they don't have analytics set up, or Search Console, or all the other things that we kind of come to rely on. And it can be painful going through that process early on, where you'll say, okay, look, we need to get analytics set up. Here's how you do it. And for some of my clients, it feels to them like I'm passing the buck a little bit. And I'm really like, look, you can set this up, and like, here I'm going to show you a video, and I'll do a little Loom video and a screen grab and all these things to show you how you can do this. And they're really like, come on, I'm paying you for stuff. Like, can you not do this for me? And like, you have to explain to them, like, I swear, I'm not being lazy. It's really important that you do this and you own this and you know how to turn it on and off again, so that in the future, if you don't want to work with me, you can take me out again and you still own it. And if you go into Search Console and you know how to add users and take users out and put them at the right permission level, if you want to work with somebody as well as me or instead of me, this is how you do it, and you'll know how to do these kind of things. So it's not just tied down to, your agency who set it up for you,
Right.
or your cousin's nephew's next door neighbor who set it up for you, and then they move states or move country or whatever, and you can't get hold of them again, so then you can't get into any of your data anymore because, oh well, he set it up for us 6 months ago and now we don't know where any of it is, so oh well, we'll start again and we'll install another set of analytics code, and you're just like, well, you've got like 15 versions of analytics on your site, please stop. So that kind of process I go through.
Awesome.
When you're working with good agencies and good contractors, I would suggest that as a site owner, you should own all this stuff. If it's about your site and about your business and about your data, you should have the keys to that box. You can share those keys with whoever you want, and if you want to share them with me, that's cool. But if you want to change your mind later down the line and not give me the keys, that should also be in your control too.
Yeah, that reciprocity is really important. All right, I like it. In that rant that I referenced, the rant you had with Morty, you mentioned a blog post by an SEO named Dan Taylor. I had never heard of Dan before you mentioned it, and so I found his blog post. It's mostly about local SEO agencies. So it sounds like the quality of the local SEO agencies in the UK isn't a lot better than the local SEO agencies here in the States. So I wonder if you think this is a particular problem in local SEO, let's say like technical SEO or content shops. And if it is, then that seems really disappointing, because these are for small businesses whose marketing dollar is stretched to the max, and it's they're taking advantage of them would be like the kind of like extra mean, I guess, than a huge gigantic corporation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. So if for your listeners who haven't heard of Dan, so Dan Taylor, that's obviously a fairly common name, but he's a super smart guy. Works for an agency called Salt Agency here in the north of England. But yeah, go look him up. He's a super smart guy. Lots to learn from him. But yeah, his blog post was hilarious. Like one of the other examples I think he had in that one from an agency that they were quite a big agency, and on one side of the room they had a team that were charging a client for link building. And they were going out buying links and guest posting and all these other kind of things, and some fairly shady things. And on the other side of the room, they had the technical SEO team who were disavowing half the links because they were junk. So they were charging them twice. They were charging them for building the links in the first place, and then charging them for like stripping them out in the disavow tool. And it's just like, wow, okay, so that's financially. I mean, the bank manager for that agency must have been thrilled, but the client, when they see that kind of stuff, must just be like, wow. But
Right.
yeah, is local SEO more spammy and crappy than other areas of SEO? I don't think so. I think, it's like anything, isn't it? Like you're saying, is it worse or better in the UK than the US? I think, there's bad actors everywhere, right? It's trying to give people the tools to spot the difference. But I think that the danger with the local SEO is that some people kind of perceive it as easy. It's like, all right, well, I can't rank number one for like buy shoes on Google. Like, well, that seems pretty junky. But I might be able to rank number one for buy shoes in Cambridge. That seems a bit more achievable.
Yeah.
And you get these kind of people who sometimes they're well-meaning, like, they're website developers or coders, and, they see this kind of SEO stuff and there's funds and available money sloshing around under this label of SEO. And they're like, I can sprinkle some SEO on. Like, I've read a few books and a few blog posts. I can SEO the website. We've all come across that before. You speak to a client and like, they're like, oh, I'm not even sure if I need SEO. Like my developer SEO'd the website when they built it. And you're like, okay, let's see. I'm not going to disparage that person's work. I'm sure maybe they did, but let's have a look. And then, you kind of point some things out to them. But yeah, I think sometimes local SEO is perceived as easy. So that may be where you get kind of a lower entry point for bad actors.
Yeah, makes sense. One part of this, this is kind of an outside the box question, but one part of this that I thought about was Google's role, or the role of certifications generally. Like, if you wanted to be an attorney in the United States, you have to pass the bar exam. You want to be an accountant, you have to pass the CPA exam. They have certifications for analytics. They have certifications for ads. I'm sure they have certifications for Android, whatever. This industry has no certifications. So there's really nothing that says like, the 15-year-old kid in their parents' basement is just as good as Greg Gifford. It's one person's word versus the other.
Nobody's as good as Greg Gifford, surely.
But do you think whether that's Google or some other third party, there should be more like a respected certification for our profession?
I'd like to think that there could be, but I'm not sure it would work. SEO just moves so quickly, and even just like this, if you think about the changes this year and the core algorithm updates this year, and that, I perhaps uncharitably call it Google moving the goalposts, but it changes fast. It changes a lot, and it's like I don't want to put myself in a position. I'm saying, that 15-year-old kid in their mum's basement is lousy SEO. They might be amazing. So if they get results, amazing, then right? Yeah. So maybe they're doing the right things, and I'm not going to say that the 40-plus-year-old guy in Cambridge is amazing just because of the virtue of his age. SEO moves fast, and one day even I'm going to be obsolete, probably fairly soon. But it's like, this. I don't want to sort of say that this whole kind of gatekeeping thing of like, you have to have a certificate and you have to have a badge and things. Like, you should have results. If you got good results and you can show that you're doing stuff and you're moving the needle in the right direction, then good for you.
I think that's well said. Last thing, you're an agency owner. I wonder if this problem is an issue with agencies generally, or maybe if you are somebody who owns an agency, that you might want to be on guard. Like, I own an agency, I want to be on guard for this kind of stuff. I want to make sure that this isn't happening. Do you have anything to safeguard at your own agency, that you don't have a rogue actor, or that you don't have somebody to make sure of this, or how do you make sure that there's some quality controls?
I would love to. Yeah. My foolproof plan is I'm an agency of one. So, I think agency kind of aggrandizes my. So I'm a contractor, a freelancer, whatever term you want to throw around it. So I don't own an agency in that kind of strictest sense. But yeah, I guess that's tricky, isn't it? Is like, if you have even a small team of 15, 20 people, how do you know that, one of your team that, is under pressure to deliver results isn't, setting up PBNs and stuff off the back of things to, make sure they meet their targets and get their bonus for the year and stuff. I think the only way, I guess, around that is an understanding of making sure that your team know what they're doing and why, and like what the potential downsides of doing bad things are. But it's like, even the definition of bad can be fairly loose, right? Like, one person's black hat is another person's grey hat is another person's white hat is another person's, like, so Craig Campbell, you might have heard about him. He's I flatter myself, a friend of mine, but he hates all that kind of white hat, black hat, grey hat kind of thing. He's like, the only thing that's important is a results hat. So, if it gets results and it's kind of like on the edges of the boundaries, then maybe but as long as you do it knowingly, then that's his approach. And I've got a lot of time for that. I have a slightly romantic view about things. That, I try and steer clear of things that are outside the boundaries of the rules. But I can understand that some people want to push those boundaries, and depending on what kind of industries and niches you're trying to compete in, you want to get number one in the casino rankings field. Good luck if you're just going to go pure white hat. It's like, I'm sure it's possible, but it's super hard.
It's very hard indeed. Well, listen, Andrew, this has been great. You're a great conversation partner. You're a really fun person to have a beer with too. If people want to reach you or get in touch with you, I'm sure. What's your favorite social media? How do people get in touch with you?
I spend far too much time on Twitter. I am on lots of other social platforms and stuff too, but yeah, I'm one of those people that kind of doom scrolls through Twitter for about 15 hours a day. So you can find me on Twitter. I'm Optimisey pretty much everywhere. So I'm on Instagram and stuff if you particularly want to see photos of my dog mostly. But mostly SEO stuff, I'm on Twitter. But yeah, Optimisey with an S, I should say. So for all my American friends that like to throw Zs into everything, like we're British and we litter S's where there should be Zs. And phonetically it doesn't make sense, but it's a tradition thing. So
I love it. Well, Andrew, thank you again for coming on. I'm going to give you a virtual cheers. You seem like just a perfect guest for Suds Search. We should do this again.
We should do it again. Yeah, I'd love to come on again. So drinking beer in the afternoon on Friday is my favorite thing.
Awesome. Well, for everybody else, we'll be back next week for another episode of Suds Search. Andrew, thanks again.
Thanks, Mark.